Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?
What's up, nerds? Welcome to another episode of the Multiverse Report. We are recapping the week's nerdy news from a spaceship at the edge of the universe to a toy shop in 1920 SoHo and everywhere in between. That's right, more Doctor Who references. My name is Mike Gibson. With me as always is Steve. Holler, what's up, Steve?
Well, what's up is me not understanding the Doctor Who references, so here we are.
Yeah, man. I know. I have completed watching all three of the 60th anniversary Doctor Who specials.
There's three?
There's three, and the fourth one is going to be the annual, I guess it's not annual, but the traditional Doctor Who Christmas episode. Which
Okay.
will be the first full episode to feature Ncuti Gatwa as the 15th Doctor.
This was the in-between with Tennant, right?
Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
And Catherine Tate as his companion, Donna Noble. All three of them were excellent. I have to say, I know I raved about it again last week, but especially this third episode featured Neil Patrick Harris as a villain called the Toy Maker, which apparently had only made one appearance in the first season of Doctor Who ever, or second maybe. I don't know. It was the first Doctor.
Weird.
And they brought him back. Neil Patrick Harris was very good.
That's expected.
And him facing off against Tennant was excellent television. Again, anyone out there that's listening to this that was like me, that for a while was in love with Doctor Who and then fell off during what some people have called a decline in quality or whatever, now is the time to get back into it. These specials, again, just reminded both me and my wife how much we love Doctor Who, why we love it so much. And I thought of a cool way to describe it. I know I'm jumping in right off the bat. We haven't even done the business or the rundown for you or anything, but any kind of sci-fi series or show has to set its own rules for its universe, right? Doctor Who is a show that will set those rules, but then kind of do whatever it can to figure out a way to break those rules to dramatic effect.
Okay.
And it's kind of like it'll say something like, oh, this is impossible, this can never happen. But then the rest of the episode is figuring out how that impossible thing happened.
Right.
Or bigger plot points about this character lost their memory and they can never know anything about the Doctor or the TARDIS ever again. But let's figure out a way to make that not happen so that character can come back. It's
right.
Part of the fun is watching it. It's like the writers of Doctor Who set themselves in front of a room full of laser beams, and they're trying to steal the thing at the end of their goal is to get to the other end of the room and steal their prize. And the fun is watching them jump over all those laser beams in order to explain their way there or figure out a clever way to get there. And it's just, that's part of the fun of that show.
It's almost it sounds almost comic booky, but not in the shitty MCU way.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And because it's been doing this for so long, it's because it doesn't do the things where it's this person's dead. Oh, but don't worry about it. Now they're coming back. And then that comic booky stuff is what you're talking about, referencing there. Because it's a weird time travel-y, science fiction-y show.
Right.
They're just well, what weird idea can we introduce that will negate this other one or get us around this other one? It's just they always write themselves into corners and dance their way out of it in ways that are always fun to watch.
Nice.
So, Doctor Who people, get back in there, Whovians. Now is your time. And the Christmas special will be on Christmas Day, I believe, on Disney Plus as well.
Go.
So
I was playing around on Disney Plus this week too. Finally saw Dial of Destiny last night.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Indiana Jones and the
Indeed
Dial of Destiny.
And
what did you think?
It was a perfectly fine Indiana Jones movie.
That's exactly how I feel. It's a perfectly fine Indiana Jones movie.
You mentioning the timey-wimey shit made me think of it. And
sure.
Because for anyone who hasn't seen it, there's some timey-wimey things going on.
Timey-wimey shit, yeah.
And when that all went down, I'm like, oh, we're going into the Crystal Skull field. And then it's they pulled the ship around. Okay, we're fine.
Yeah. It's not, it doesn't...
Weird?
It doesn't...
But not beyond. Like, it was
Yeah, I
enough
agree.
weird to fit with the Indiana Jones. Like,
I agree.
Yeah.
And it's a more like history tied to, so like
Right.
that kind of made sense for the character. That's how I feel. I am looking forward to watching it again. My wife wants to watch it, and now that it's on streaming, we're gonna sit down some night probably this month and watch it. I agree that, like you said, it's perfectly fine. I can agree. I can see myself. I liked it a lot when I saw it. I can see myself liking it more and more the more that I revisit it. Whereas Crystal Skull, I've revisited actually twice, probably in the last year, which is
keeps
remarkable.
getting worse.
I wouldn't say it keeps getting worse, because it actually rose a bit in my estimation, but because I think the first hour, I probably said this before on this podcast, so I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself, but the first hour of Crystal Skull is pretty good Indiana Jones movie. Then the second hour just really slides off the rails downhill for me. I'm sure there's some people out there that don't feel that way, that love it somewhere. I don't know. But so yeah, Crystal Skull hits depths that Dial of Destiny doesn't get anywhere near for me.
No, Dial of Destiny's whole thing felt very in line with him talking to a ghost about the freaking come on, bro.
Holy Grail.
Yeah, about the Grail. Like,
and those are the things that you do have to keep in mind. Like, we hold those first three on some pedestal where there's insane things that happen in all three of those first movies.
Oh, 100%.
So like, really, who's to say that
Face
aliens
melting from the Ark of the Covenant?
Movie? Like, yeah, a guy gets his heart ripped out of his chest and keeps living while the heart beats in a person's hand. Like, we see that physically happen. So
scarred me for life.
I don't know. It's hard. We draw that line as fans. For some reason, we're like, no, aliens is too far or whatever, but like, but why? I don't know why. It's about a feeling, and I can't police.
Before, though. Like, aliens would have been fine if they'd have not made a shitty movie about aliens. Like, if they hadn't have gone from Find Indiana Jones to what the hell are we doing here, and then add aliens at the end of it, you're like, huh?
Yeah. And like, if they had been more vague about it, instead of just showing aliens and a giant flying saucer taking off at the end, like, that was a little too much. Like, just hint at it. Don't actually, like, I don't know. But then again, like, they certainly don't hint at a man getting his heart ripped out of his chest. Like, that really happens
quite early in the movie, like, too.
Is it a thing that it needs to be religious, like religious artifacts that make more sense for Indiana Jones for us? Is that part of the problem?
Because, like, Archimedes isn't anything tied into that.
Well, I know, but I'm saying, like, I'm thinking about those first three, like, compared to the two newer ones.
The way it did.
Yeah, and like,
might be because there's
like,
some.
Why do we draw that line there? Is it a religious? But also, like, Temple of Doom, those stones aren't, like, they're not Christian. I don't know if they're based on any Indian religions, but they're certainly not Christian based.
Maybe it's the, like, tied in the familiar type thing, like supernatural tied to the familiar versus like, oh, it's aliens. Like, it made no sense.
Supernatural with earthbound origins.
Yeah,
maybe.
But I did have a couple of other takeaways from that. For one, the sheer number of times they mentioned Syracuse is mildly hilarious.
Yeah, I loved it.
And
you should, dude.
For two,
should have been in a theater. Should have been in the theater when they mentioned Syracuse in the beginning.
Oh,
it was like applause. It was great.
The second, why? Like, I've been wondering this since I found out years ago that Archimedes was from Syracuse, Sicily. Like, why don't we lean into that around here at all?
I don't know. We should. Like, that'd be cool.
Yeah. Like, what the hell? Why not? But no, we don't.
We should.
Yeah. You know what
Build
else?
a statue.
You know what else ties into Syracuse?
What?
A convention that's going to be happening in Syracuse in March of next year.
That's right. Let's do some business. Stop talking about nerd stuff for a second. Let's talk about some business nerd stuff.
Yeah.
Which normally we would have talked about 5 minutes ago, 5 to 10 minutes ago already.
Oh, we're at 9 minutes already. So yeah.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Syracuse Collectors Con happening March
16th and 17th.
16th and 17th, New York State Fairgrounds, featuring me and us.
Yes.
Me as a comic book writer and me and Steve as a podcast. We'll each have a booth there. Again, not sure how I'm going to make that work, but gonna figure it out.
Hey, friends of ours that are listening to this, we'll be reaching out.
Yeah. Also, come see us. Come say hi. Buy a comic book from me or say something on a live podcast. Who knows? We don't really know what the podcast plan is for that, but we'll be doing something for sure.
Absolutely.
Hopefully snagging some interviews. Hopefully, I don't know, doing at least some live recordings.
Yeah, if you're listening to this and don't care about seeing us, there's also going to be a ton of other folks there, including Syracuse's own Steve Orlando. So
that's true.
There's a lot of nerd draws in the area. And
comic artist Matt Flint will be there as well. I believe a bunch of Power Rangers will be there.
There seems
Power
to
Rangers
be
reunion.
What we've learned on the recent con circuit is there's always Power Rangers everywhere.
And fans of Power Rangers.
Yeah, which I didn't know, because I think the original Mighty Morphin, when it came to the US, was like just past us growing up.
Yeah, same. Yeah, we've mentioned that before, I think. Yeah.
So
we weren't really into it. But so get ready for that and be excited. One of the sponsors of Syracuse Collectors Con is Funky Town Comics, who also is a sponsor of this very podcast.
Another beautiful segue, sir.
And one of the things they do for us is set us up with some cool interviews like the one we did with Simon Birks, author of current ongoing series at Image and Top Cow Antarctica, which you can pick up the first 5 issues of right now. The trade of is coming out in February, and you can listen to our conversation with Simon Birks about his writing process, about the future of the series Antarctica, and about why representation is so important to him in comics, specifically transgendered representation. You can listen to all of that stuff in our talk with him, which is in your feeds right now, both YouTube and podcast feed. It was a good time. And I'm not ready to announce or anything quite yet, but we do have a line on a couple more interviews with some comic creators, which will hopefully be happening in early 2024. We don't have dates yet, but if you are listening to this and you are a fan of comic books, you should be excited about both of them.
Absolutely. We've talked about both of these creators extensively on this pod. So
yeah, I'm excited about both of them. Very nervous about one of them, I have to say. I'm sure Steve knows which one I'm talking about, but like you can hear this little twittering in my voice right now. It's because I am nervous about that one. Because of the reverence that I hold this person in, it's going to be, I don't know how I'm going to do it. But we'll figure it out. Anyway, very exciting stuff. Stay tuned for more information on that. Your local Multiverse Report podcast. Moving into some actual news. Now that we've been podcasting for close to 15 minutes. We've already talked about Doctor Who and Indiana Jones extensively.
Right, and we still haven't even started the real podcast.
I haven't even started our actual rundown, which starts this week in the DCUniverse, as we have another casting announcement. Not necessarily for Superman Legacy. Not necessarily for... It's my phone. Remember I told you that alarm wasn't going to go off? And I didn't do anything about it?
Elf is moved.
It just went off.
We're good.
The elf has been moved, yes. Yeah. Anyway, I feel like I was making a beautiful segue into the story, and I don't remember what it was. But anyway,
but I'm pretty sure this guy could play an elf. He's played just about everything else, and could very easily motion capture someone way smaller than him.
For sure. Sean Gunn has been cast as Maxwell Lord in the DC Universe. Just a blanket casting. Maxwell Lord in the DC Universe. This is not specific to Superman Legacy or Creature Commandos or Waller or Peacemaker Season 2 or Brave and the Bold or any of those projects we've heard about. This is just, he'll be playing Maxwell Lord in what can I assume is be multiple projects within the DC Universe. Sean Gunn is the brother of James Gunn. He's appeared in many of James Gunn's films, including, you may know him from the role of Kraglin in the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy. Kraglin is the member of the Ravagers that inherits Yondu's mohawk and whistle-controlled deadly arrow. He also did the motion capture for Rocket Raccoon in those movies. He was also did the motion capture for the character of Weasel in the Suicide Squad, and also had a very cameo in the Suicide Squad of Calendar Man.
Was that one of the guys who died right off the bat?
No, he was just in the background of the prison early on. Like when Waller's rounding up the team, he like shouts something at Peacemaker or something. He's got like the months tattooed around his head like Calendar Man does.
I love like where the hell did Calendar Man come from? Sorry to derail us, but like
no, I think he was like one of those weird Silver Age villains that just were like
1958
more quirky and stuff. Yeah, exactly. So but then he was brought back and made pretty creepy in Long Halloween, Batman Long Halloween.
Yeah.
And its sequel, Dark Victory. He was kind of given his own little gritty reboot and largely left alone since then, I think. But he was like a real kind of like almost like a Hannibal Lecter kind of figure in those books where like Batman has to go talk to him in Arkham and get information from him. So it's cool. Anyway,
sorry to digress.
No, that's fine. He's also in Super and Romeo and Juliet, other movies by James Gunn, but Sean Gunn's also appeared in TV shows like The Good Doctor, Gilmore Girls, The Rookie, and Robot Chicken.
So I have a question for you.
Hit me with that question, Steve.
You said that Sean Gunn is cast as Maxwell Lord. My question to you is, who in the utter hell is Maxwell Lord?
Well, Steve,
Maxwell Lord. You're the guy to tell me.
Maxwell Lord was created by Keith Giffen, J.M. DeMatteis, and Kevin Maguire. It was first appeared in 1987's Justice League #1. It was a reboot of the Justice League book. He was originally introduced, he's like a billionaire businessman guy. He was introduced as going to be like a new financier of the new version of the Justice League of America. He went on to found the Justice League International, which had its own run to wide acclaim. It's a lot of people's favorite run of Justice League. He was originally introduced as, like a founder or someone that's going to help out the team. Eventually was turned into a villain. I think there was like a twist somewhere along the line when you're like, oh, he's been behind this the whole time or whatever. I don't know if that was the original intention of the character, but someone came along and turned him into a villain. Became a villain for the Justice League, but also for Wonder Woman specifically. If you saw Wonder Woman 1984, you may remember that Pedro Pascal played Maxwell Lord in that movie. Eventually, the character was given superpowers and had some kind of like mind control powers, but it like affected him in a way. And that's kind of what Wonder Woman 1984 was doing, that like wish stone thing where he was able, by the end of the movie, he was like reading. It's like he was the one granting wishes or something. It was kind of like their play on it. Like that movie is messy in a lot of ways, but I like Pedro Pascal as that character a lot. But clearly they're not moving forward with that version of it because that movie was a little wacky. So yeah, that's Maxwell Lord. He has famously at one point murdered Ted Kord, Blue Beetle.
Okay.
And at one point was murdered himself by Wonder Woman in a controversial move. And I hope that if they're introducing that character, they're not going to just rush to the murdered by Wonder Woman plot point. It seems like it would be kind of a waste. Like we said, it's not clear if this character is going to appear in Superman Legacy. Deadline is reporting that he will at least be referenced in Superman Legacy before appearing elsewhere down the line, and that this is a strategy that is reportedly going to be utilized for a number of characters as they are introduced in James Gunn's DCU. So I kind of like this idea. It's like a less ham-fisted way of building a universe, like, casual references to characters and not, we're going to write a whole scene for this one character to be introduced, even though it makes the rest of the movie feel clunky and clearly feels like a deleted scene doesn't need to be there because we just need to squeeze in this one character. Looking at you, Marvel.
No,
but yeah, we'll see how this goes. If he, we don't know if he's going to physically appear in Superman Legacy or if they're just going to be like, oh yeah, I saw Maxwell Lord on TV the other day talking, whatever.
How many billionaire philanthropists do you guys need?
DC's got a lot, as does Marvel. Comics love a billionaire, good guy or bad guy.
True. I feel like DC leans onto that a lot more than Marvel does.
You think so? Villainous, I guess. I can't think of a
Batman.
Who's like is there a Marvel villain that is his defining characteristic is being a billionaire?
Not really, outside of like maybe the like Stain and that sort of like Iron Man counterparts.
Yeah.
Fighting money with money, I guess.
Yeah, Iron Man's full of billionaires.
Right. But beyond that,
But you're right. Yeah, I
not a
can't
whole
really
hell
think
of a
of.
lot.
Yeah, 'cause it's not like Steve Rogers is a secret billionaire or anything like that. Or
Right. I mean, they might be
you know.
after the fact. Like,
I mean, I'm sure like Doctor Doom owns an entire country, so I'm sure he's rolling in some money
right.
or hoarding it. You got your Norman Osborn. He's got to
True.
be a billionaire by now.
I mean, like Black Panther, Namor,
Oh,
like
yeah,
they
of course.
control entire,
Yeah,
much like
they
Doom,
control
they control
countries.
entire
They
countries.
control entire
So,
economies. Yeah,
Wilson Fisk, maybe. Like,
depending on the run, I feel like maybe for Fisk.
right. Like,
But yeah, I can see that.
Richards with like the Future Foundation and all that sort of stuff, maybe.
Okay, well, we're
Hellfire
naming
Gala,
plenty of,
like
all right.
Sebastian
We're
Shaw,
naming
Emma
plenty of
Frost type
Marvel
situation,
billionaires.
maybe. Yeah. Okay.
All right, so there's a good amount. There's a good amount.
But it's not really
yeah,
like
none of
them. It seems to be their
ones.
defining characteristic, where it's like,
Yeah,
seems like Batman.
there's other things to mention.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, Lex Luthor. Oh, yeah, he's an evil billionaire.
Right.
Maxwell Lord. Oh, he's an evil billionaire. Well, like when Deadline broke this story, they referred to him as Sean Gunn cast as villain Maxwell Lord, and James Gunn immediately like retweeted the article and said, "This is true, but calling Maxwell Lord a villain is a little reductive because he's like a multi-layered character. So it may be that James Gunn is not necessarily looking to use him as a villain right out of the gate, and might mirror the comics a little bit more and have him be like a financier or associate or helpful contributor or whatever to the Justice League's mission."
Yeah.
And I guess we'll see. Sean Gunn, I mean, he's a good actor for sure, but I guess we don't know, because we don't know how Maxwell Lord isn't necessarily, he's not an A-lister for DC. And I've never seen Sean Gunn in like The Good Doctor or Gilmore Girls or anything. So I associate I associate Sean Gunn with characters that are more on the goofy side, like Kraglin or Weasel, who's just a motion capture lunatic. So it'll be interesting to see him play someone that is more of a likely more of a dramatic role, and possibly even a villain eventually. So yeah, I mean, we knew that Sean Gunn was going to be somewhere. He is clearly, he's one of James Gunn's guys.
Right. Well, it's like, where's Michael Rooker going to end up?
That's a big question, is where's Michael Rooker? Yeah. Is he going to be Perry White? Is he going to be Jor-El? Like, where's Rooker? He would be a good Perry White.
I believe.
I don't know if he'd be a great
The latest
Jor-El.
scuttlebutt on Jor-El was Russell?
Kurt Russell. Yeah. The
fresh off of Monarch.
Yeah. Rumors about Kurt Russell being Jor-El, and someone asked him about it, and he said, "Yeah, I'll take on Marlon Brando." Basically, like, which honestly, an answer like that made me think it's not necessarily true, because normally if someone's already like in talks, they'll be like, "Well, you never know. It would sound good," but like he went straight for like comparing himself to Marlon Brando, which I don't know. You never know.
Yeah.
He would be a good Jor-El. I think Kurt Russell would be a good Jor-El.
I think Nathan Fillion will return as something actual this time.
He's already been cast. Remember, he's Guy Gardner, Green Lantern.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
holy hell.
He's and again, Guy Gardner, a big part of the Justice League International run. So maybe we're seeing James Gunn starting to put the pieces together to base something around JLI. Who knows?
Yeah.
I do think Sean Gunn is voicing Weasel in Creature Commandos too. And he did have that. What's that?
So that would make sense.
Makes sense. And he did have the cameo as Calendar Man, so this could be a thing where, like a Jason Momoa Aquaman, but now he's going to be Lobo kind of thing. Like,
right. Well, and they did say that like they may use the same actors, but not in the same roles or that sort of thing.
You're
like
right.
That it's a fresh casting thing. So.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm intrigued by this. Look at me staying intrigued instead of you stealing your line. You're going to mispronounce a name later on in this episode.
100%.
I'm intrigued by Maxwell Lord being a part of the new DCU, but also excited because although he was in Wonder Woman 1984, he is certainly a character that's underutilized in adaptations outside of comics. So we shall see. That's not the only DC news we got this week. We got a new trailer, and finally, finally a release date for a video game called Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League. We haven't talked about this game in a long time, but we did talk about it after it was announced. It was announced in August 2020. Long time ago.
Yep.
Long time ago. Just got pushed back, kept getting pushed back a number of times. It's finally coming out February 2nd, 2024. So, Groundhog Day. Be on the lookout. Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League. You can play as either Harley Quinn, Deadshot, Captain Boomerang, or King Shark. And the Suicide Squad is tasked with taking out a Justice League whose minds have been taken over and are being controlled by Brainiac, who's invading the planet. So this new trailer, it's a lot of gameplay, a lot of action shots. I feel like we've already had like 2 trailers for this game because it was supposed to come out like 2 years ago, and kept getting pushed. So it doesn't really show you a ton of new stuff. It's just kind of a lot of action beats and stuff, which is cool. Makes me want to play it. Reminds me of how cool I thought it looked the first time I saw a trailer for it. But yeah, it looks like you have to take out Flash, Green Lantern, Superman. It's like maybe Wonder Woman has avoided it, according to the trailer, or avoided being taken over by Brainiac. But looks like a number of superhero fights. The game is set in the Batman Arkham universe. It's from the studio Rocksteady, which is the same studio that made the Batman Arkham games. It takes place 5 years after the final Arkham game, Arkham Knight, and features Kevin Conroy's final performance as the voice of Batman. So, I am in the bag for this game. I'm 100% going to buy this. I'm going to play it like crazy. I love a DC game, especially if it's connected to the Arkham games. I'm down. I'm excited to be able to play as King Shark. That sounds like a lot of fun. Steve, where do you fall on a Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League game?
I mean, if it's fun, then I'm all in.
Yeah.
Like if it's a well-made game, then sure. I'll hit it up. Why not?
Why not? Why not? You got to think, I mean, I haven't really looked into this too much, but I mean, you got to think it just kept getting pushed back so they could make it a better game, right?
One would think.
Or like finish it properly. Like, I don't mind, as we'll talk about at the very end of this show, I don't mind waiting for something if it's going to make it better.
Right.
I'd rather have it not be rushed,
Mm-hmm.
so for whatever reason. So finally coming out after being announced over 3 years ago, we got a release date, February 2nd, 2024 for Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League. But that is not the only video game news we have to talk about tonight, Steve, is it?
No, it's kind of weird because we still haven't heard anything on another Marvel video game that I believe both of us are very hotly anticipating. But
the Wolverine game?
Yes.
You're speaking of the Wolverine game.
Yes. So Insomniac has been pretty mute on that.
I would love one single update on that game.
Yeah, anything.
Like, I'm so excited for that. I would love one. Just hey, we're still working on it.
Yeah.
Here's one still. Here's one still
Right.
of Wolverine from that game. That's all I want.
That
Show me one
20-second
picture of him.
trailer, like teaser, similar to what got released for what we're about to talk about, had me so hyped for that game because it felt like it literally just felt like Wolverine, and you're like, oh, okay, this is going to be good. And it's Insomniac who did the Spidey games, and
confirmed that it takes place in the same universe as those Spider-Man games, apparently.
So,
which I still have not played Spider-Man 2. Very excited to. Hopefully, I'm going to get it for Christmas and spend Christmas break swinging around New York City.
Oh, it's fun. Do it up. So
I hope to.
We heard about the Wolverine game. We have now heard, and I'm relatively excited about this, that there will now be a Blade video game.
Yeah.
Made by Arcane Lion and Bethesda. So no release date yet, but the teaser trailer did drop. No real gameplay.
Way too early out for any gameplay, obviously. But
the teaser trailer of a very, very nervous barber giving a daywalker a little bit of a cut up. You gotta tighten those lines up to go and kill vampires, and Blade did it looks, I mean, it's a cutscene, but it's like, oh yeah, this could be really fun.
it could be really fun. And I think that Blade is a really solid choice for a video game character.
Mhm.
Similar to like the Spider-Man games, incredible, right? So fun. You feel like you're really swinging through New York City. It feels like Spider-Man. What's a character that's vastly different from Spider-Man, but we could still make, but is still a great game character, like a character that can carry a great game? Wolverine. Let's make an awesome Wolverine game.
Yep.
What's a character that's different from Spider-Man and different from Wolverine enough to carry its own game? Blade.
Right.
I think Blade is going to be probably darker, probably scarier, maybe a little more violent. You're fighting vampires in Paris. It's going to feel different.
I feel like this is going to feel
different
a lot
power
more
set, different villains.
Yeah, I think it's going to feel a lot more like the Arkham games than like a Spider.
Sure. Yeah.
Darker tone, very street level, like outside of being awesome at what he does. It's not like there's going to be crazy, special abilities and web slinging and things from Blade. So it's like, do you have a sword? Okay, go kill things with a sword.
Right. I think like street level settings.
Yep.
Supernatural villains.
Yes.
For sure. Yeah, I'm really excited about it. The official description of the game says, in Marvel's Blade, Eric Brooks is the legendary Daywalker, half man, half vampire, torn between the warm society of the living and the rushing powers of the undead. A mature, single-player, third-person game set in the heart of Paris. There's another way that'll set it apart. This is not going to be taking place in New York City or
Madripoor,
presumably Canada or Madripoor, wherever.
Actually, yeah, that trailer for Wolverine did look very Canadian.
Yeah, you never know. He could be traveling the globe in that game.
He does do that quite a bit.
Japan as well. Yeah. So yeah, man, I'm all in for a Blade game. Like, it's not Insomniac, but I'm all in. It'll be interested to see. I will be interested to see if this game, if they announce that this game also takes place within the same universe as those other games.
Yeah. Yeah, even with it being a different developer, I'd be curious.
Yeah. But also, like, why do I care about that? Like,
yeah,
I don't know that I want like an Avengers style team up video game unless you can make it great. If you can make an Avengers, they tried to make an Avengers game that wasn't. That was
make an Avengers game that sucks less.
It was like the most mediocre, middling game of all time.
100%.
I feel like. But I guess if you can make an Avengers game that feels as great as the Spider-Man games feel playing them, then yeah, make that game.
You know what that's called?
With these characters.
That's called the Guardians game.
Yeah, that game is awesome.
Yeah,
I got to get back to that. I played about half of it and
I
got distracted. And
I did
it's
the exact same
though.
thing. Yep,
it's so fun, so fun. That game is underrated. If you're looking for anyone out there is looking for a fun Marvel or superhero related game, get the Guardians of the Galaxy game that came out last year, right? 2000
last year or 2 years ago, maybe. Might have been like end of 21, but they did the team up thing, but they did it right. Like each character feels unique. Each character isn't rushed, and it feels like it belongs as a team up game.
Yeah. And it's also like they found the right line between the versions of those characters from the movies versus changing them up a little bit to like make them clearly not like Star-Lord is not Chris Pratt, but they're like right on the line where there's like enough of the Chris Pratt version to make you feel like it is.
Yeah.
Feels familiar, exactly. But I feel like that's where the Avengers game stumbled quite a bit. It's like they kind of wanted you to think of the movies, but they didn't really write the characters that way or design the characters that way.
Yeah, I guess that was the thing with the Guardians was it made it wrote the characters well enough so that they had the movie DNA, but also were able to stand alone for people that either didn't care about the movies or like were comic fans.
Yeah,
like, it was still true to
Felt
the original source, but didn't like isolate you from the movies like it seemed like Avengers kind of did.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So, Steve, that's the most we've talked about video games on the show in a long time.
Yeah.
Longest video game conversation, quite some time.
Well,
Steve, if there was
did
one
we rant about KOTOR for a while at one point?
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Okay. Never mind. If there was one comic book character that you'd want to play a video game of, I'm not phrasing the question very well. They're making a video game. It's going to be based on a comic book character that you choose.
Okay.
You want to play a video game based on this character. What character are you picking? Steve, go.
I mean, they're making it. We already
Wolverine?
talked about this. Like, yeah.
Okay. Can't be any of the ones that already exist or are already being made.
For pure, like,
I mean, when I say it can't
maybe
be already exist, like you can say make a new Batman game. Like
right.
Of course, yeah.
It's weirdly tough. Like maybe make a true new X-Men game that we haven't seen in a while. I know it's rote for me to mention that, but like we've seen the Spidey stuff. Fantastic Four we've talked about doesn't really ring any, like it doesn't kind of hit any notes at this point. Sorry if Mike Held is listening. I know he's a diehard Fantastic Four guy, but like maybe like a classic Uncanny, but really lean into it and bring it to the forefront and upgrade it type thing. I mean, Moon Knight would be a fun game, but it'd be very much in the vein of what we're talking about with I was trying to think of something that wouldn't be just a reskin of Spidey or Wolverine or Blade or whatever, you know what I mean? And like Daredevil would be awesome, but that's the Blade game.
Yeah.
Like
Daredevil would be. Well, Daredevil would be like a combination of the Spider-Man game and
the
Blade game, kind of,
And that, like,
I could see Daredevil being cool. I could see Daredevil being more like the Arkham games. That would be cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's because I'm trying to give you what went through my head in that, like, 5 seconds of, like, went through. I'm like, Daredevil, no, that wouldn't be that. Okay.
Yeah.
Moon Knight and Daredevil were the first two that came to my brain, and those were out. So Deadpool would be fun if we're talking about the Suicide Squad game.
They made a pretty fun Deadpool game like 10 years ago or something. I have it I bought it for PS3. It was a lot of fun.
Nice.
It was button mashy.
Oh yeah.
But they definitely like got the character.
Right.
Like
it could be a nice fun turn your brain off type.
Yeah, that's kind of what it was. But yeah, I can see them developing a better Deadpool game for sure. I would say there's a long-running rumored curse about trying to make a Superman game because every time they made a Superman game, it has been bad. I would love a good Superman game, like give it to Rocksteady or Insomniac, like a studio that is proven to be able to make good superhero games, and give me a Superman game where I don't have to earn points in order to fly or whatever, like dumb shit like that. Like, just figure it out.
I have an even more outside the box for you. Instead of the Superman game where you're going to lean into eventual disappointment because they'll find a way to screw it up, Invincible.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
Like, same feel, but different take on it.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, that'd be nice, and which I still haven't seen season 2 yet, which I
keep forgetting that's even out.
Oh, every time we talk, I'm like, I need to watch this, and then I go back to my TV and I'm like, huh? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Same thing with Rings of Power. It's out, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. That's still a show. Or
wait,
not
Rings of Power?
No, Wheel of Time. There we go.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, wrong fantasy.
I was like, are you telling me the Rings of Power is out and we haven't talked about it on this show?
No,
like, where are the trailers?
I'm getting confused
like, what?
Because
We're terrible at this.
I'm currently reading through The Hobbit with my son and rereading the trilogy, on my time. So it's like my brain is all Lord of the Rings right now. So
wow,
Rings of Power was like, okay,
nice.
So
nice.
Yeah, we're the Hobbit's going well. Actually, he's really enjoying it. So.
My son really likes The Hobbit as well. We got about halfway through, and then we just paused for a while. Like we felt he wanted to read other stuff or whatever. But we did a little bit more recently. We're in like the Black Forest right now, or in like Mirkwood or wherever that is, where that's spiders and stuff, and that's like pretty intense.
Oh yeah,
for a little kid. Like he's nervous
Yeah.
while we're reading it. So
Bilbo
taking it slow.
Bilbo
Taking it
just
slow.
revealed they just got to the other side of the Misty Mountains and just finished the Gollum scene and all that.
Yeah.
So he was all in after that. He's like, oh yeah, this is great.
Yeah,
So.
it is great. It's great, and it's really fun reading it to my son. Yeah, it's great.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure you have the same.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of fun. I would say, in answer to the question I asked you 10 minutes ago, I would say an Aquaman game would be really cool.
Okay.
Like, give me like diving down deep in the ocean and fighting weird sea monsters and shit. Like, that'd be a lot of fun. At the same time, there could be a level where you do go to land or whatever, and like I think that'd be cool visually. You know, something different visually. And I had another one, and I forgot what it was. This isn't a superhero, but is it insane that there's never been an Indiana Jones video game? There should be an Indiana Jones.
I think there was
open
for the
world
SNES, but yeah, modern as far as
there should
like
be a modern open world Indiana Jones game. Like I know they have like the Uncharted series, which is basically like modern Indiana Jones, but like whatever, I don't care. Give me an Indiana Jones, but it's set in 1947 or whatever, and that'd be awesome.
Oh, hey,
it'd be so cool.
Mike, I don't know if you knew this, but Bethesda is making a new Indiana Jones game.
No, they're not.
Really? Yep.
Well, okay. Look at that.
Indiana Jones game for Xbox Series X. Oh, there you go. Well, we can't play it anyways, but
Xbox. Come on, Bethesda.
In development at Machine Games, studio responsible for Wolfenstein. So, yeah, I mean Bethesda is tied into Microsoft and whatnot. So yeah.
Come on, Bethesda. That's bullshit.
Eventually, it'll show up at on the PlayStation, maybe ish. Hopefully.
Yeah. And they also announced a Wonder Woman game a really long time. Since on that, I would love to hear an update on the Wonder Woman game.
Yeah,
because that'd be dope. I'm just hoping that's like God of War, but with Wonder Woman. What I really want that game to be.
Yeah, that'd
like
be
some
pretty
like
cool.
Visceral.
I'm assuming that would be cool. I've never played a God of War game.
I've only played like bits and pieces. I've never played an entire game, but it's just like jumping on giant monsters and fighting them until they're dead.
Yeah.
I think that would be dope if you were doing that with Wonder Woman. That'd be great.
And I mean, yeah, there's definitely I guess, past is precedent. So
yeah. Anyway,
they could probably.
What were we talking about before we started talking about all these other video game tangents? What were we talking about?
I don't know. Oh, you know what? That's what they should do. A Nightwing game that isn't Gotham Knights and sucks less.
Hey, I liked Gotham Knights. Did you play Gotham Knights?
I didn't. From what I've played, I haven't disliked it, but it hasn't been like enough to be like, all right, I need to keep playing this.
It's definitely not the best.
Right.
I think I liked it because I liked playing as those characters because I love those characters.
Right.
So I thought it was fun, but yeah, I agree. I didn't love it, but I did like, ooh, I'm Nightwing and I'm running around. But I agree. If there was like an Arkham City level game featuring those characters, that'd be cool.
Yep.
That'd be cool. And it was pretty good. I liked it more as I got used to it. Like it was a little wonky gameplay, so it was a little different than I expected it to be because I thought it was gonna be closer to the Arkham stuff, and it was a little different. But I ended up liking it quite a bit, but not as much as the Arkham stuff.
I'll throw one more out there for you.
Hit me.
The Tick.
Oh my god, I would play a Tick video game till I died. Hell yeah.
Oh god.
Hell yeah. Swamp Thing game? That might be that'd be wild.
Or like, on the other side, Werewolf by Night or Man Thing.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool. Or yeah, give me like a whole like Justice League Dark game with like you can switch between Constantine, Zatanna, and Deadman or whatever, and Swamp Thing. That'd be cool.
That'd be pretty sweet.
That would be cool.
You know what that supernatural kind of twinge brings us back to?
The thing that we were talking about before we did a huge video game tangent?
Yeah, well, we talked about the video game involving it, and then we went into video games, and now we're coming back to the subject matter. Because Blade is back in the news again.
Blade! And the most shocking part of this next story is a positive update. Positive update about the Blade film. Now, don't get your hopes too high. It's not an in-depth update. It is just Mahershala Ali, star of the titular Blade himself.
Yeah, Eric Brooks himself.
Eric Brooks himself talking. He was giving an interview with Entertainment Weekly. Someone asked him about the Blade movie, and he said, quote, "We're working on it. That's the best I could tell you. I'm really encouraged with the direction of the project. I think we'll be back at it relatively soon. Sincerely encouraged in terms of where things are at and who's on board and who's leading the way as far as the writing of the script and the directing and all that. So that's the extent of what I can tell you." So, Mahershala Ali, two-time Oscar winner, Mahershala Ali, starring as Blade, encouraged about the direction of the movie. And that is good news, considering that there were reports that he was about to walk away from the movie. So discouraged about where it was going. You might remember that this is movie. It's on its second or third director. Has had multiple writers. And Steve, who's currently directing Blade?
Jan Damage.
Okay,
I believe.
I was hoping that would be your mispronunciation because I still were intrigued. That's why I
may
threw
have
it up
been,
to you.
But
Jan Damage is director of episodes of Lovecraft Country, the HBO series. He's currently in the director's chair, and he's going to be directing that movie with a script from Michael Green, who's the person that wrote the script for Logan. Not a bad flick.
No,
gotta say,
I've heard of that one.
So, Mahershala Ali clearly feeling good about where Blade is headed. Although he says we'll be back at it soon, meaning I don't think they're currently back in production yet. I think they're still paused. Not necessarily because of the strike, but because of the director change, the writer change, that, Michael Green is still probably banging out that script. I really hope this movie happens. And I hope it's really good. I really want a new Blade movie. Although, I guess, no, they did say it's going to be rated R. So for a second, I was about to say I feel like the MCU is going to kind of neuter it a little bit and be a little pull back a little bit. But no, they did say it was going to be rated R. So that makes me feel encouraged about where it is. Also, that I know that one of my favorite actors currently in the whole world, Mia Goth, has been announced as being in this movie. So I'm very excited to see her in a Blade movie as well. So I don't know, Steve, does this get you more excited, or are you just still waiting to see what happens about Blade? This kind of reinvigorated my... Yeah? Sorry, yeah. I cut you. I asked you a question and immediately cut you off.
It's like... it feels like every time we hear, it's just like we're cruising along at an altitude, and it's just like, all right, well, it goes mildly negative, and then mildly positive, and then mildly negative, and then it's like, give me something of substance, and it's... Like, I guess the fact that Mahershala is the one that's commenting on it is positive. And
it's not Kevin Feige being like, everything's great.
Right. Yeah. And so that's definitely a benefit. But yeah, it's
I think this, in conjunction with the announcement of the game, is what made me realize, like, oh yeah, no, I really do want to see a Blade movie. That would be awesome.
I want to go revisit the Snipes ones. It's been a long time.
Dude, that first one is so good. I haven't seen the second one. I remember the second one being good too.
Yeah.
Guillermo del Toro and all the weird mouth opening vampires. That's all I remember about that movie. But
sorry,
the first 10.
For some reason, Guillermo del Toro broke my brain.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, I for some reason forgot watching Dial of Destiny last night that Antonio Banderas was in.
Oh yeah,
like he just shows up on screen and I'm like, that's Antonio Banderas. What's going on? Where did he
forgot
come
that he
from?
existed? Yeah.
No, I just forgot that he was remotely tied into the film and like any of that. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I'm like, wait, should I have known his character from an old indie? And then I'm like, I don't think so.
I think I said this. I think when I was reviewing it for the podcast, I mentioned how I was surprised that, one, I forgot that he was in it, and two, he's like in it and then he's not in it. It's like it's almost a cameo. Like he's barely in it.
Yeah, he's in like 3-4 scenes and then gone.
It really made me think that role was bigger and got like chopped down on the cutting room floor or something, because like, why
or
cast
maybe
Antonio
they like
Banderas
cast him
for
for
this
something
character?
else, and then we're like, oh well, we want to go here, but you take this thing.
Yeah, yeah. Or he was like, or he's just the biggest Indiana Jones fan in the world, and
Right.
was like to his manager, like, "Yo, get me. I don't care what I'm doing. I want to be in that movie."
Antonio Banderas needs to get into Indy.
Yeah,
Hey.
make it happen. I don't care. I'll be the guy that he, like in Raiders, when the swordsman comes out and you think it's going to be an epic battle and he just shoots him. He's like, I'll be the guy that he just shoots. I don't care. I want to be an Indiana Jones.
Which I did love the counter to that scene in the not the boardroom, but like where Indy starts whipping the whip around and everybody else pulls out their gun at him.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, that's a nice kind of flip it on its head throwback.
Way to throw it back, yeah. Yep. Hey, speaking of movies that one of us watched, too. Another throwback, and one we talked about last week.
Because I didn't know it existed.
Yeah, and I didn't think I was going to be able to see it. I saw Godzilla -1 because it's doing so well. It's getting such positive buzz and making so much money that it has lengthened its run at the box office. This is a Japanese-made film. As Steve looked up last week, it was made for a measly $15 million. I'm here to say you can't tell that it was only made $15 million. And if you can make this movie with $15 million, then, Steve, I know you and I have been saying this for a long time, but studios spending way too much money on movies.
Mm-hmm.
Way too much money on movies. There's no reason that a movie like Dial of Destiny should cost $300 million if you can make Godzilla -1 with 15. Because, hot damn, this movie looks awesome. This movie is great. I'm not someone that has kept up with the Japanese Godzilla movies. I've seen some of them. I used to watch all the old ones when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
I know they make new ones still. Haven't really kept up. I've been watching the Monsterverse movies, the American versions. I like those, even though some of them are just dumb fun.
Wait, they're still making the old classic, like, in that vein, like, continuing along that line of...
I mean, it's not a guy in a suit anymore, but they just,
right.
They make Japanese Godzilla movies for sure, and this is one of them. Like, this was subtitled, like we were reading the whole time.
Yep.
And what I really liked about it is something that, it's not that I forgot, but like in the Monsterverse movies, they are finding ways, increasingly difficult ways, to make the audience like feel okay rooting for Godzilla. Like, yeah, Godzilla's a giant monster that's destroying cities, but there's this other monster that's way worse. So have to call Godzilla to defeat the worst monster. So we can root for Godzilla. Godzilla's kind of the hero of this movie, really, if you think about it. Like that, I feel like the Monsterverse movies are kind of like bending over backwards to do that. And it was a lot of fun just seeing like, seeing a movie that was like, oh, Godzilla, no, he's a giant monster and we need to destroy him. We need to kill him because he's killing thousands of people every time he sets foot on land, which is true. And it was cool. It was really, really cool to see that. The effects were great, like I said. CGI was excellent. It's the best human story I've ever seen in any Godzilla movie, American or Japanese or whatever.
Okay.
Like the protagonist is a very interesting backstory, very compelling story. I felt very interested in why he had a specific personal grudge against Godzilla, and kind of like his journey. Like, this is a minor spoiler, but he's like losing his mind at one point for like good reason. Like he's set up to like kind of be like, I can't take this anymore, and screaming into the unknown, which is really good. It was just cool, like seeing scenes of like people standing around a table being like, how can we destroy this thing? He's coming. There's nothing he's going to show up. We need to do something, and coming up with like a plan. And it's a good plan. Like, it's just creative. It's stuff that I've never seen before. Nice. I was riveted. And again, the effects look great for being 15 million. The design of Godzilla, I feel like this must have been intentional. It's a CGI character. It's not like a guy in a suit, but it's kind of modeled and made to look similar to when it used to be a guy in a suit. Like they give him like they
Right.
don't worry about making like his eyes like reptilian eyes. Like I feel like the Monsterverse movies does. Like it just looks kind of like human eyes, which was a distinction of the old rubber suit costume. So it kind of looks, it invokes that look of the old original movies. Also, the score is very evocative of the original Godzilla movies, so it kind of brings you back there. Also, a big Jaws influence. Jaws is like my favorite movie ever. So there's literally a scene where there's people on a small boat trying to get away from a giant Godzilla that's chasing them with its with its mouth wide open. I was like, oh, this is straight out of Jaws. It's great. So yeah, Godzilla -1. If you don't mind reading subtitles, go check it out. It's definitely worth watching. Again, effects are great, really fun. It's just a fun kaiju movie, fun giant monster movie.
Nice. Yeah, I want to check that out at some point. Don't know if I'll make it to the theater, depending on how long the run is, because December is stupid. As far as busyness. I did look up the Godzilla franchise. There are 38 movies in the Godzilla franchise, including the American options, and that also includes the 1998 Godzilla.
Matthew Broderick.
Was that one? Yeah. I think so yeah.
Yikes.
Yep, that was the thing. Great soundtrack though.
Oh yeah.
Was that Rage Against the Machine's No Shelter cover? Was on
that? No Shelter is on there. Foo Fighters are on there. Green Day is on. Ben Folds 5 is on there.
Just a who's who of anyone around 1998. Oh yeah, Puff Daddy sampling Led Zeppelin's Kashmir.
Sampling Led Zeppelin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wild.
But yeah, I went back to look at the old classic ones, and which ones I remembered, like Mothra versus Godzilla and Ghidorah, the three-headed monster.
Yeah.
There was a ton of them. Godzilla, the original Kong versus Godzilla.
Yep.
Godzilla Raids Again, which I did not remember. I looked up. The antagonist was Anguirus, which looks like a Ankylosaurus with spikes and a T-Rex head. Kind of funky.
Cool. Awesome.
So yeah, the kaiju are always hilariously amazing. Godzilla.
I did the same thing. Mecha Godzilla. Yeah, I did the same thing when I came home. Was like looked up the film, like the Godzilla's filmography.
Right.
And I was like, how many of these have I seen? Because a lot of them like bleed together for me because I saw them when I was so young, so long ago. Yeah. And I was like,
there was a
one where he just
TNT?
fights Mothra, but then Mothra comes back in another one. So like, which one am I thinking of? I don't really know.
There was
Destroy All Monsters.
Mothra comes back in Ghidorah and Ibira, the Horror of the Deep.
Of course.
That was the lobster ass looking one that came.
Oh yeah.
I
know some of these I saw like on Mystery Science Theater also. So I don't know if I watched them outright or just watched them on Mystery Science Theater.
TNT. There was like one summer where I remember TNT playing the hell out of old Godzilla movies or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is not good, but I'm watching it and I'm really enjoying it.
For me, it was like a classic, like rainy Sunday or Saturday afternoon. Like nothing's on except a bunch of old Godzilla movies. And so we're watching.
Might as well.
That's what we're doing today. Yeah. Great. Just great.
Ooh, Son of Godzilla.
That's right. Speaking of movies and it being December, Steve, I almost forgot. Aquaman 2 comes out this month. December 22nd.
I already forgot.
Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Yep.
Can't wait. I kind of forgot. I feel like there should be more promotion around that movie. Like, why aren't they? Probably because they know that it's, no pun intended, dead in the water, most likely.
Like there's no point in pumping into that budget.
The end of the DCEU. Yeah.
Right. It's like, we'll throw this out there. But if that's the case, why don't you just Batgirl it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's probably contractual. It's too far. It's already made. Like, I don't know. The first one made $1 billion. The first one made $1 billion.
So did the first Ms. Marvel or Captain Marvel.
Well, yeah, but they didn't shelve the Marvels. You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to shelve a sequel to a movie that made $1 billion. They're just not.
Yeah.
They're just not. But I think you should promote it a little bit more.
You would think at least something.
You would think. I mean, I know they have. There was like a new TV spot, which is why I, remembered that it was happening. But anyway, do you have a comic book to review tonight?
I do. Do you?
All right, I do. But yeah, I do. You want to go first?
Sure. I have.
What you got?
Eden Frost.
Ooh,
it's a
I don't know what this is. What is this?
Mad Cave comic, indie from writer Amit Tischler, Bruno Fendra on pencils, and Taylor Esposito on colors. A tale of a brother and sister who are effectively running away during the in Ukraine during the Russian Revolution.
Okay.
That they're running away from what was a massacre in a village caused by stone golems that they don't know what happened, and they're the only two survivors. And the Russians are coming after them. And that's about all we know. And it ends with the kids at gunpoint from the owner of whoever the property they're on is. Overall, I really enjoy the art style, which I wasn't sure I was going to when Jesse gave it to me. It's a little, I'm thumbing through it instead of showing you these things. But it's, it isn't something that normally I would gravitate towards art wise, but it does, it seems to work very well for the story. They seem to put enough meat on the bone and have enough to tie you back into the story they're trying to tell. Very generic first issue as far as where it goes and the cliffhanger it leads you on, but there's enough breadcrumbs that you're like, I wonder where this is going to go. I can say of the 2 or 3 things that Jesse's given me from Mad Cave, it's definitely my favorite of them. Enough so that I might be looking at picking up number 2. There is also a nice Q&A in the back of it with Amit Tischler, the writer, Tel Aviv native, moved to LA. A lot of symbolism in his writing. There's some very it's a very informative interview and gives you a little more insight as to where the story came from and all that. So it's
awesome.
It's been very, I guess a little manga inspired, but not a manga. I'm gonna do the Han Solo thing and just pronounce it every way, since I don't particularly know how to pronounce things. So overall, solid book. Would definitely take a look at it. They have it down at Funky Town Comics and Vinyl. Check the comic section for this one, not the vinyl section. If you look in the vinyl, you're not going to find it.
No,
but yeah,
not at all.
definitely worth taking a look at if you're interested at all.
Awesome, cool. I will be reviewing tonight a book written by Jeff Parker with art by Michelle Bandy, color by Alex Sinclair. This is issue 1 of Batman Santa Claus Silent Night, Kingt Night. This was a book that I picked up myself because this was the canonical establishment of the fact that Batman, Bruce Wayne, once went to train when he was studying abroad to train with, League of Assassins and other people to become eventually Batman. One of those masters that he trained with was Kris Kringle himself, Santa Claus, and bringing Santa Claus back into the DC universe in a canonical way. I had no idea what this book was going to be like. I thought it was great. I thought it was really good. It has its own kind of version of Santa Claus, which I think is smart. It's not just like a jolly Batman showing up, going ho ho ho, and bringing presents to people. Their version of Santa Claus is that he is like a Norse god that centuries ago was kind of they describe it real quick. Centuries ago was like kind of marooned in our realm or on our Earth, and became more or less the Santa Claus that we know. Like every time he meets somebody, he says he knows the name. He knows their name immediately, and the home that they grew up in, like that he used to deliver toys to, which I think is a funny detail. He's like, oh, like Zatanna makes a cameo appearance in this issue. There she is, looking all festive with her cape and a little mistletoe in her hat. She encounters Santa Claus for the first time. He looks at her and says, Zatanna Zatara, 1964 Foxhawk Lane. Like immediately knows her address, which is like a funny little detail. Anyway, I like it a lot. And there's like weird bat creatures that are murdering people in Gotham City. So it's because Santa Claus is in it, it's not like a super light, kid-friendly tale. Like it's still PG-13 book for sure. And Santa is teaming up with Batman and Zatanna to figure out the cause of where these bat creatures are coming from. Nightwing, Batgirl, and Robin also make appearances in the book. I really like this. Is like a weird thing, and maybe just because I haven't been reading a Batman and Robin book time, and I know this is not the team that is writing the current Batman and Robin book, but I really like the way Robin is drawn in this book. Like in this page here where he's like hanging upside down while he's having a conversation, like that to me is just like quintessential, like Dick Grayson Robin. This is Damian, obviously, but like, I don't know, just like that's a great character beat for someone that's wearing the Robin emblem. I don't know. I liked it a lot. And they're, little things like they're using ropes instead of grapple guns and stuff. Like, I don't know, just cool Batman stuff that I liked a lot. Spoiler alert for the end of this issue, but they do figure out that maybe this is a spoiler, maybe it's not, because you don't really know how they get there. But the main villain of this series is likely Krampus. Krampus seems to be the villain behind the murders. I'm definitely going to pick up issue 2 of this book just because it's fun and I'm in the mood for Christmas. And this book is coming out weekly. When they announced that it was coming out at the end of December, I thought, I mean, good timing for issue 1, but like, who's going to care about it by issue 4 if it's, February by the time the last issue comes out? But no, it's one of those books that are doing specifically for Christmas. Issue 2 comes out this week. Issue 1 is still in stores, so you can easily pick this one up and grab issue 2.
Yep.
And then issue 3 and issue 4 just in time for Christmas, and you can have yourself a little superhero Christmas story. I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun and cool, and not as the tone of it is not as goofy, and it makes more sense than you think it's gonna make.
Yeah.
I would say it that way.
Nice.
So, yeah,
I'm glad
big fan.
Glad that actually worked out, because I know you were pretty pumped about that when it was announced. Of like, what?
It just was
this?
such an insane idea.
Yeah.
But like immediately the way that they handle it, this is not as insane as I thought it was going to be. Because Sam even mentioned something in the book about how like, Christmas hasn't needed me to be involved in it in centuries. It's been centuries since I've actually been involved in Christmas. He doesn't elaborate on what he means by that, but like, he's not necessarily the guy that's making toys at the North Pole.
Yeah.
He's more of just a guy riding around on a reindeer with a crossbow, which is pretty badass. Yeah, cool. Speaking of comics, what else is going to be in your local comic book store this week? Let us tell you. You got your Action Comics number 1060, American Psycho number 2, Batman 428, Robin Lives. This is a one-shot depicting an alternate universe in which Jason Todd survived being beaten to death and blown up by the Joker all those years ago. So like, it's kind of like a what if version, like a one-shot. What if Jason had survived? Pretty cool. Might have to check that out.
You may have to
Batman
get that
and
for,
Robin.
one of our friends.
One of our friends who finally now knows that Jason Todd has come back from the dead. It's a friend of ours, Kate, shout out if you're listening, who over a year ago told me she wanted to get into comic books. So I started her with Batman Year One. She knew nothing.
Yep.
She didn't know that there was more than one Robin. She didn't know anything about, she didn't know Jason Todd died. She didn't know she didn't know Dick Grayson was replaced. She just didn't know anything.
Yeah. Between the two of us, we've sent her on quite the wild comic ride at this point.
Quite the journey.
Yeah.
And she liked Jason. Of the stuff that I gave her, she loved Jason and was so mad that he died and doesn't like Tim because he's Jason's replacement. So mad. I was like, I'm gonna just hold on. Like I didn't say anything. I was just like, get you there. I'm gonna get you there. He's coming back. Finally, she's read volume 1 of Under the Red Hood, that he's back in business. So it's actually probably a good pickup for her. Kate, if you're listening, you should buy Batman 428 Robin Live. Batman and Robin number 4, Batman Gargoyle of Gotham number 2, Batman Santa Claus Silent Night number 2, the aforementioned number 1 just came out last week. Lots of Batman going on this week. Birds of Prey Uncovered number 1, not sure what that is. Blade number 6, Captain America number 4, Danger Street number 12, the final issue of Tom King's Danger Street series. Daredevil Gang War number 1, DC's Twas the Mite Before Christmas. I can only imagine that is their yearly holiday anthology series with a focus on Batmite, possibly. Detective Comics number 1079, Green Lantern number 6, Guardians of the Galaxy number 9, House of Slaughter number 20, Luke Cage Gang War number 2, Miles Morales Spider-Man number 13, Moon Knight number 30, Punisher number 2, Silent Night, Deadly Night, Killer Santa number 1.
Okay.
I don't know. Is this based on the horror movie series Silent Night, Deadly Night? Or is it just a clever name or stealing that clever name? I don't know.
Was that the one that David Harbour was in?
No, David Harbour was in one called... I don't remember what it was called. No,
Hello?
Silent Night, Deadly Night is like from the 70s or something. It's like an old slasher movie they're not very good. They're not very good. David Harbour was in...
Violent Night.
No. What's that?
Violent Night.
Violent Night.
Yes.
So many Silent Night puns.
Apparently.
Wild. It's also a movie from the late 90s, early 2000s called Santa's Slay, S-L-A-Y, which is a funny horror comedy. Spider-Gwen... I'm going to stop talking about Christmas horror movies. Spider-Gwen Smash number 1, Star Wars Bounty Hunters number 41, Superman Lost number 9. Sorry, I'm laughing before I say the title of this next one. The Three Stooges versus Cthulhu number 1.
Sure.
I don't know anything about that. But if I would love to look at that book.
I was going to say, Jesse, which one of us is reviewing that for next week?
Jesse, if you have the Three Stooges versus Cthulhu, please give one of us a copy of that book to review. I need to see what that is about. Titans Beast Wars number 2, Waller versus Wildstorm number 4, Wesley Dodds The Sandman number 3, Wheel of Time The Great Hunt number 2, White Widow number 2, X-Men Red number 18. Steve, I feel like a lot of characters we have mentioned on this show have comic books coming this week, like this episode of this show specifically. Yeah. We've talked about Batman, we've talked about Blade, we've talked about Daredevil, we've mentioned Green Lantern, we've talked about Moon Knight, we've talked about Superman, so many Wheel of Time, X-Men, so many of these characters we've talked about. Are you pulling any of these books? Is there anything on your pull list this week that you're looking forward to?
No, there's nothing on there that's on my pull list, is there? Oh, X-Men Red.
X-Men Red.
But beyond that, I was very excited about Gang War, ASM Gang War 1.
Yeah, you like that Spider-Man one, yeah.
But I have one crossover that I'm still working on. I know a friend of the pod, Brian Reynolds, or Rollins, Jesus, every time.
Yeah.
I work with a guy.
Every time.
Well, I work with a guy named Brian Reynolds, so it keeps throwing me off. But I know Brian's pulling the Gang War, and apologies, Brian, for butchering your last name for the second week in a row. But yeah, apparently 2 rave reviews, so there's already been a good number. I think Luke Cage, a Spider-Woman, and the Amazing Spider-Man that I read last week, as well as Daredevil this week, and I think another ASM 39, like a mainline Spider-Man that's going to be coming out or came out this week. So cool. It's already filling up pretty quick. So
nice.
Apparently a pretty solid crossover though.
Awesome. Cool. I'm probably gonna pick up that Robin Lives issue just because I want to see what would have been. Birds of Prey Uncovered. I'm not sure what that is, but if it's tied into the current Birds of Prey run, I'm down. It might be like a. I feel like sometimes they do, if there's a new series that they're trying to get more people into, they release like after the first like 2 or 3 books have come out, they'll release like a double issue of like issues 1 and 2 together to try to like get more eyes on it or whatever. So if that's it, I don't need it. But if it's something other than that, I'm definitely gonna pick it up because Birds of Prey run has been excellent, just visually stunning, and the story's been great the whole time. I am a fan. I'm a sucker for the holiday anthologies. Like DC does like a Halloween or a Christmas one, like this Twas the Mite Before Christmas. Like it's gonna be hard for me not to buy that, even though I feel like I'll buy it, I will read half of it and then give up. I don't know. I just get in like, I'm a holiday guy. I get in the mood for something and then, marketing works on me, I guess I should say.
Fair enough.
So, and obviously the aforementioned Three Stooges versus Cthulhu, I just can't imagine what that is at all.
I have no idea.
And how a versus like that lasts for more than 10 seconds is wild. It would be wild. So I guess we'll see. Or maybe we never will. Who knows? Who knows? Steve, we got one shot tonight. It's a bit of a bummer. Star Wars fans, brace yourselves. This is a bit of a bummer for news. Steve,
gird your loins. Andor season 2.
Hit us with this one shot.
Everybody is excited for Andor season 2. Andor season 1 was a smash hit. Possibly, I believe both of us dubbed it the best at the time, the best Star Wars since the original trilogy. And unfortunately, season 2 for Andor has officially been pushed back to 2025. It was supposed to originally come out in 24. I believe late-ish 24 was the rumor.
Yeah. Summer-ish, I think.
Yeah. So because of the strikes, Acolyte and Skeleton Crew are on target, but Andor is not.
Bummer.
Yep.
That's a bummer. But as I mentioned with the Suicide Squad game, I'd rather it be done and done correctly. Especially something like Andor, which, like you just said, I thought was top tier Star Wars. So I'd rather you take the time to make it right rather than rush and deliver me a subpar sequel series. So take your time. Take your time, Tony Gilroy and crew. I am pumped about the Acolyte and Skeleton Crew, though. Do get 2 Star Wars shows in 2024.
Yeah. Yeah, it should be good.
And hopefully more information on a movie. Point.
Yeah, I believe because didn't there was a rumor going around that filming was going to start in April and that got debunked, so we're back to
yeah, that's right, that went around this week, didn't it?
Yep. So
yeah,
that went around strong enough to get us excited to put it on the rundown, and then quickly went away quick enough to not even think about it.
Yeah. I did see, I follow Daisy Ridley on Instagram. She posted a couple workout stories, Instagram stories of her in the gym working out. And I was like, ooh, she's working out to getting into some Ray shape. That makes me excited.
There you go.
That makes me excited. But yeah, Acolyte and Skeleton Crew, 2 shows we know barely anything about. I think that's going to be really exciting because I don't think there's been a Star Wars project. I'm trying to think of, are the Acolyte and Skeleton Crew the first Star Wars projects, bar none? Maybe you could say Rebels, but that we know nothing about, that like they're not connected to, as far as we know, they're not connected to existing characters. They're not connected to existing films. They're not sequels to any specific entry in the franchise. They're not prequels to any specific entry in the franchise. They are unknown. Wild space.
As far as visual medium, yes. I think there may be some loose ties for High Republic end of things for Acolyte. But yeah, I think it's the first First
I was
general,
thinking
mass
movie. I was
market,
thinking
not,
other live action movies and shows.
yeah, like not
cartoons.
crazy people like me. Tie-in, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, like Rebels, you could kind of put in there because like it takes place in a similar time frame, but it wasn't sequelizing Clone Wars or prequelizing anything specific. And there's characters that we know show up.
Right, there wasn't even direct tie until season 2.
Yeah, exactly. So, other than that, this is the first live action stuff that I feel like is just wild, wide open space here.
Makes me excited.
Makes me very excited. Like I don't have to know anything to go into either of these shows.
Now that said, most anything that we would need to know, I feel like the two of us would know. So
yeah, I know. I said we will know, and I'm sure that they'll certainly probably reference things that we do know. But as far as characters and storylines, it's brand new, and I'm excited about it.
There you go.
But I think that's it. I think that's all we got. Steve, you got anything else to talk about this week?
No, I think we've hit all the key buttons for the evening.
I'm done and done.
Yeah, if you would like to hit buttons on your end, please feel free to use the like and subscribe buttons on YouTube or your podcatcher of choice. If you are on Apple Podcasts or the like, feel free to leave a wonderful review for us. Hell, even leave us a half-assed review. We don't care. Leave us some sort of review.
We'd prefer the wonderful ones, but whatever review.
As long as the star number is 5, I don't care what you say.
That's right. And if it's 5 stars, again, we'll read it on the podcast and give you full credit for it. You could be famous.
Yeah, maybe.
Have your name read on our podcast. What?
Along the lines of currently like 4 other guests.
Yeah.
So.
And look how far they've gone. They've gotten a big publicity bump. When you appear on the Multiverse Report, your stock shoots through the roof. Just ask Simon Birks. New York Times bestseller now. After he was on Multiverse Report.
He wasn't before at all. Oh wait, no, he was. Damn.
No. Yeah. Shit, we can't take credit for that.
We may have hurt him. Not really, but yeah, if you want to get a hold of us, check us out on socials, the Multiverse Report, Multiverse RPT on the old thing that we don't check anymore.
I think that's only Twitter, and we're not on Twitter.
Yeah, that's why I was like, out of habit.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I'd say get a hold of us, and we'll be talking to you in your ear holes.
Yeah, for sure. And that'll happen next Sunday, unless something unforeseen happens. And until then, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the multiverse.